Hi, I'm Emily, and I'm the Castle Girl. Today I'm at Rothesay Castle. Rothesay Castle is a ruined medieval enclosure castle. It sits prominently in the middle of the town of Rothesay, the main town on the Isle of Bute, on the Firth of Clyde, which is around 30 miles from the city of Glasgow on the western coast of Scotland. The first wooden structure built on the site was by the Norwegian king Magnus III Olafsson, or sometimes known as Magnus Barefoot, in 1098. The Norsemen owned this part of Scotland during much of the Middle Ages, after Edgar of Scotland ceded claim to the Scottish Hebrides, including the Isle of Bute. It was only when the Isle of Bute was seized by William the Lion a descendant of Edgar around 1200, that the island of Bute became part of the Kingdom of Scotland and the Isles. At this time, the sandstone circular defensive wall, around 40 metres in diameter and about 8 metres high, which surrounded a wooden fort, was built by Alan Fitzwalter, the second Duke of Scotland, and was established by 1230 in defence against the Norwegians. The water-filled moat that surrounds the mound is fed by Barnauld Burn. This runs from Loch Fad, which is about 2.5 miles south of Rothesay Castle, and runs into the sea. The castle was attacked twice by the Norsemen. Once in 1230 by Ospaker Haakon, known as the King of the Isles. He ordered his men to sail to the River Clyde and claim Rothesay. The battle lasted for 3 days, and part of the east wall was demolished, however, ended in defeat for Haakon. The second time was when Haakon IV arrived in the Firth of Clyde, ready for battle in the summer of 1263. It was William, the first Earl of Ross, who outwitted the Norse king and delayed battle until the autumn of that year. After the Norwegians lay siege to Rothesay Castle and inflicted significant damage, they were forced to abandon the cause to retake the islands from the Scots king after a storm during the Battle of the Largs ravaged his fleet. The Norwegian rule ended after this battle. After the peace treaty was signed at Perth in 1266, this ended the Norwegian rights to the islands of Scotland. They now belonged to the Scots and the Stuarts dynasty. It was Alexander Stuart, the fourth High Steward of Scotland, who reconstructed and strengthened Rothesay Castle. This was in case of future attacks. This included the construction of 4 3-storey projecting towers and a gatehouse with a portcullis. The remains of the northwest tower are all that is left of the 4 towers that we can see today. Rothesay Castle was held by the English at points during the Scottish Wars of Independence. and by the late 1290s was in the hands of Edward I. Sir Robert Boyd of Cunningham led an assault from the sea and retook the castle for the Scots cause in 1306. This was at the Battle of Duplin Moor. Rothesay was in the hands of the English again in 1334 under Edward III, who was a self-titled Lord Superior of Scotland. When David II died in 1371, his nephew Robert, who was the 7th High Steward of Scotland, became King Robert II of Scotland and the first monarch of the Stuart dynasty. Rothesay Castle was a favoured residence of Robert II's. He granted the keepership of the castle to his son John. In 1401, Robert III granted his son the title the Duke of Rothesay. This began honouring the heir to the throne of Scotland, the title the Duke of Rothesay. Robert died at Rothesay Castle in 1406. During the 15th century, the castle was extended and renovated again under the instruction of James IV and continued by James V. The work included raising the curtain wall by another few metres, adding the mighty gatehouse, and the construction of St Michael's Chapel inside the courtyard. This is now the only surviving building inside the curtain wall. The northwest tower was reconstructed as a dookout, now known as the Pigeon Tower. Further sieges of the castle took place in 1462 by the last Lord of the Isles, John, the Earl of Ross. He was chief of the Clan He made a secret treaty against the Scottish king with Edward IV of England. The castle was under attack again in 1527. This was by William, the first Lord Ruthven. He also destroyed a large part of the borough of Rothesay. The Earl of Lennox captured Rothesay Castle in the name of Henry VIII for the English cause in 1544 during the Wars of the Rough Wooing. In the mid-17th century, along with many other Scottish castles, Rothesay Castle was occupied by Oliver Cromwell's New Model Army. And was partially destroyed on their departure. The remains were slighted in 1685 by forces fighting for the Covenanting rebel Archibald Campbell, the 9th Earl of Argyll, during his uprising supporting the Monmouth Rebellion. The castle was thereafter left in ruin. It was John Crichton Stuart, the second Marquess of Bute, who was a large estate owner across Britain, that instructed the ruins of the fortress to be cleared. And the structure stabilised around 1816. It was the work of the third Marquess of Bute, John Patrick Crichton Stuart, along with the help of his friend and architect William Burgess, that oversaw the repairs and restorations that continued until the end of the 18th century. The castle was passed into state care in 1961. Rothesay Castle is now a scheduled ancient monument and in the care of Historic Environment Scotland. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to visiting a castle near you. Bye!